Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I made a video about what Russia is doing in Ukraine is some of the same looking moves as what Assad did in Syria. And the video was running 20 minutes and the cats started fighting outside. I had to end the video. And also I think that I think that the YouTube, it's made for communication. And when people do more production, when people try to produce these big beautiful things, it takes so much energy. I would need to put on a big dress. I can't walk around my house in this big beautiful dress because I will trip on it and get it dirty, and I can't move around the same way. So it's such a production to make videos sometimes, and it can't be that way because we need it for communication. We need to use it as a more dynamic tool that it is in its social media. So there was some things that we missed out on that was important about the crazy president, American president, and that was that so Russia is stopping all of the gas to Europe, and there's a big food problem because a big part of the world is depending on food from a small number of countries and oil from a small number of countries. And because those things are so important, if they ever stop, well, those countries, they really hurt us when they do that. So we can't allow that. We can't keep having those important things so far away from home. Syria doesn't have that problem. Syria has oil, and they should always have the benefit of that rich resource. And the only thing that Syria is in danger of is the food. So if there is food in Syria, if there are fields of olive trees, then everyone in Syria should eat olives. So there has to be food in Syria for us. And so the phase 2 and the European war, there's a war in Europe and it benefits us in the Middle East because it takes the crazies out. It brings the crazies back over, and it puts him face to face with what was always the person that he was targeting. So the American president said that he was going to build grain silos. And it's very remarkable when you see any patterns repeating from a previous war. And there are patterns repeating. And they're very important roadways of power, like the Ukraine and Poland border. So there are 7 million people that fled Ukraine, and half of them came through the border on Poland. So half of the Ukrainians that fled in the last 4 months, which is just a tremendous amount. If you can imagine how many feet, 7 million little feet crossed out of their home country into another country for safety, and half of them were in Poland. And this is remarkable. In World War II, Poland is where Adolf Hitler brought all of the Jews, all of the people in Germany who didn't have 3 generations on both mother and father's side that had no hint of the Jewish religion. Only they were exempted, and if they were to say anything or object to the government's desires, then they too would be brought right on the train, right into the camp, and right to their death. And so now it's World War II, and they're saying, oh, we're going to use trains, and we're going to use big giant buildings, empty buildings, but we're not going to put people in them this time. This time it's only going to be wheat. This time we're not going to put any religious people in it. It's going to be only wheat. And meanwhile, you've got Russia putting lightning symbols on his vehicles as they are doing a lightning invasion of Ukraine. They are putting the Z. That's in the Adolf Hitler's Germany, they used the double Z as a lightning war. That's what that means. And that's exactly the pattern that Russia is using now. It's going Germany, Belarus, France, Romania, whoever's it's going tung 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 tung, like a mini sun, like the dawn is coming up over the horizon. The red dawn is the communists. That's China. So that's all just symbolism and Freemason symbolism. So they're going to use these trains and the buildings for wheat this time. And they're going to put them in the same place, Poland. And now, and the second big thing that President Biden said back on June 10th, 2 weeks ago, and this was important information about the war in Ukraine, is that because the last week Russia cut the gas supply, and Russia is supplying basically almost all the gas to Europe. It's cut the supply. Now Russia has about 5 or 6 pipelines that run to Europe. Big pipelines that run to the entire countries. And they started cutting those last week. They cut gas to 5 different countries. And they disabled the Ukrainian pipeline was disabled last month. So the European gas is stopped, and now NATO is bringing 300,000 soldiers to the border of Ukraine. Now that the oil fields are under the control of Russians, now the Ukrainian oil fields are under the control of Russians, and all the gas is stopped to Europe, now that all of the European gas is completely halted for a week, now the soldiers have arrived. The NATO has arrived. And Joe Biden said that they are going to coordinate the largest oil launch in history of 1 million barrels a day, of 240 million barrels are going to be added to the global supply. And I did not hear at this time where this oil is going to come from.